the coast of Crete, which was once patrolled by the bronze giant, Talos. Many people are familiar with the figure of Talos through his depiction as a bronze giant in the 1963 movie Jason and the Argonauts using Ray Harryhausen's stunning special effects. But where did the idea for Talos come from? And could he have been the first robot in history? Originally, Talos was a figure of Cretan legend, though there are many diverse myths to account for his origins. After Zeus kidnapped Europa and took her to Crete, he gave her 3 presents to demonstrate his love, one of which was the giant bronze automaton Talos. In another version of the tale, the giant was forged by Hephaestus and the Cyclops and given to Minos, king of Crete. According to another myth, Talos was the son of Chris and father of Hephaestus, or he was Minos' brother. Others have said that he was in fact a bull, probably identical to the Cretan Minotaur in the labyrinth. According to the ancient writer Apollodorus of Rhodes's Argonautica, he may have been the last of a generation of men of bronze, originally sprung from the ash trees and who survived the siege of the Demigods. Talos, or Talus, in the ancient Cretan dialect means son, and in Crete the god Zeus was also given the same name, Zeus Talios. Talos was the guardian of the island of Crete, and made a circuit of the island's coast 3 times daily, to prevent an enemy invasion, and also to stop the inhabitants from leaving without Minos' permission. He also traveled thrice yearly to the villages of Crete, carrying with him bronze tablets on which were inscribed Minos' sacred laws, and was responsible for these laws being obeyed in the country. Talos was said to hurl enormous boulders and other debris at approaching enemy vessels, so that they would not land on the island. If the enemy got to this initial bombardment, the bronze giant would leap into a fire until he glowed red hot, and would then clasp the strangers in his burning embrace as they landed on Iceland. It was also said that Talos was once in the possession of the Sardinians, and that when they refused to hand over the brazen man to Minos, Talos leaped into a fire, clasping them to his breast and killing them with their mouths open. From this incident, apparently, comes the expression sardonic laugh, which is applied to those who laugh at their own or others' troubles. Jason and the Argonauts encountered Talos as they approached Crete on their way home from obtaining the Golden Fleece. The giant kept their boat, the Argo, at bay by hurling great boulders towards it, which he had broken off from the cliffs. Medea, the witch accompanied Jason, helped them escape Talos' destructive blows by using her magic. It is recorded that Talos had a single red vein covered by a thin skin running from his neck to his heel, bound shut by a bronze nail. This nail sealed in the divine ichor, an oily substance often referred to as the blood of the gods, which enabled his metal limbs to move. This was the one vulnerable spot on his body. In the Argonautica, Medea bewitched the giant with a hostile gaze and invoked the care spirits of death with songs and prayers. As Talos was attempting to hurl boulders to repel these wailing spirits, he accidentally grazed his ankle on a sharp stone at a spot where his vulnerable vein lay concealed. He collapsed to the ground with a great crash, causing the divine ichor to gush out like molten lead. In another version, Medea enchanted the bronze man and deceived him into thinking that she would give him a secret potion to make him immortal if he would let her stop on the island. Talos agreed and drank the potion, which immediately put him to sleep. Medea went to him in his sleep and pulled the plug from his ankle, whereupon he died. Others believed that the Argonaut Poias, father of Philoctetes, who was to fight in the Trojan War, pierced the giant's vein with an arrow. After Talos' death, Virgo was able to land safely on Crete. Coins depicting Talos, dating from Thephrth to the 3rd centuries BC, have been found in the Cretan city of Hephaestus. A late 5th century AD red figure crater vase shows the Dioscoroi Herogodscaster and Polydeuces catching the dying Talos, as Medea, in Oriental dress, stands at the side in front of the Argo, holding an embroidered sack presumably containing her magic, potions and drugs. There are various ways to interpret the myth of the giant bronze man of Crete. The story certainly has overtones of the very similar fate of Achilles during the Trojan War, and perhaps they had the same source. A political interpretation suggests that Talos represented the Minoan fleet, armed with metal weapons. When the mainland Greeks from the Argo defeated Talos, the power of Crete vanished, and the control of the Greek world was transferred to the mainland. Or perhaps the harbors of Crete were infested with pirates, and Talos represented the Minoan guard against pirates in the form of 3 watches, which sent out patrols. The poet Robert Graves has suggested that Talos' single vine belongs to the mystery of early bronze casting by the Sire Purdue Lust Wax method, which involves the sculptor producing a model in clay that is then coated with wax. This model is then covered with a perforated clay mold. When heated, the mold will lose the wax, hence the name of the method, as it runs out of the holes in the plaster. The metal in liquid form is then poured into the space formerly occupied by the wax. A religious, ritual interpretation has been suggested by the discovery of Minoan stones dating from c. 1500 BC, showing a goddess or priestess paddling a boat to seaside shrines, indicating a similar divine circumnavigation of the island, that of the bronze giant. As Talos is the Cretan word fourth sun, Robert Graves has suggested that he would, as the sun, have circled Crete originally only once a day, and because Talos, a bronze image of the sun, was also called Taurus the bull, and the Cretan year was divided into 3 seasons, his thrice-yearly visit to the villages could have been a royal progress off Sun King, wearing his ritual bull mask. Another theory is that Talos represents the first fully operational robot in history. It has been calculated that if Talos could circuit Crete 3 times a day, it would mean that he had an average speed of 155 miles per hour. Proponents of this view point out that when the giant was wounded in the ankle, what poured out seems similar to molten lead. In general, the Greeks were fascinated with automata of all kinds, often using them in theater productions and religious ceremonies. There is some history of ancient robotics, albeit in primitive form. In 350 BC, the brilliant Greek mathematician Archytas built a mechanical bird, dubbed the pigeon, that was propelled by steam. It was one of history's earliest studies of flight, as well as possibly the first model airplane. In 322 BC, the Greek philosopher Aristotle, perhaps foreseeing the development of robots, wrote if every tool, when ordered, or even of its own accord, could do the work that befits it, then there would be no need either of apprentices for the master workers or of slaves for the lords. In the late 3rd century BC, the Greek inventor and physicist Ctesibius of Alexandria designed water clocks with movable figures on them, which kept more accurate time than any clock invented until the 17th century. More than 1,600 years later, around the year AD 1495, Leonardo da Vinci designed and perhaps even built a mechanical armored knight, probably the first humanoid robot in history. The machinery inside da Vinci's robot, a cable and pulley-driven artificial man, was designed to create the illusion that a real person was inside. This robot could sit up, wave its arms, and move its head while opening and closing an anatomically correct jaw. It may even have emitted sounds to the accompaniment of automated musical instruments, such as drums. In fact, there were quite a few inventors in medieval times who built machines similar to this, to entertain royalty. Da Vinci's robot was dressed in a typical, late 15th century German-Italian suit of armor. From da Vinci's designs, it appears that all the joints moved in unison, powered and controlled by a mechanical, analog programmable controller located within the chest. The legs were powered separately by an external crank assembly driving the cable, which was connected to important locations in the ankle, knee, and hip. In 2005, the biochemical engineering faculty at the University of Connecticut began a recreation of the basic structure of da Vinci's original robot. Their design will incorporate 21st century technology including vision, speech recognition, and voice command, computer-integrated movements, and a more advanced body structure. The robot will also possess a mobile neck and have the capacity to follow moving objects with its eyes. The recreation will operate in 2 modes, one which will respond to computer commands and the other to spoken commands. Da Vinci's original pulleys and gears will be utilized in conjunction with muscle models to imitate natural human movements. It all seems a very long way from ancient Greece. Nevertheless, even Talos was probably a figure of myth. The giant bronze man of Crete was perhaps the prototype of all modern robots.